Hello and welcome along to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, standing in for Tom Stanley this week. I'm delighted to welcome, we've got a trio of expert tipsters here in Adele, Mulrennan, Sam Turner and Donn McClean. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Hi, thank you, Daniel.
And listen, Adele, no better place to start, I think, than last week's winner. The horse you tipped up, Midnight Shadow, tipped at 12.0 on the podcast. It was some race altogether, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was absolutely delighted. I had to call Cody as well, which was a shame. He went down, but even Midnight Shadow, he put in a scratchy jump at the last fence as well. And luckily, he managed to pick himself up and get the job done. But I'd actually spoke to Tom Richmond, who writes for the Yorkshire Post when I was at Wetherby, and he said he spoke to Ryan and he was so strong on his chances, so I felt even better once I spoke to them. But I was really pleased for them. They're a lovely team, Sue Smith, and where they train, it's like in the middle of nowhere. They're only yard round there, so it's just nice to see them have a win.
Absolutely, and definitely in the era of super trainers, particularly around the big festivals, it's great to see a winner like that. Absolutely. So, listen, it's racing from Ascot and Haydock on ITV Saturday. We're going to cover today, and then any other bets. For those listening on the podcast, do give us a preferential review and subscribe to our YouTube channel for free if you're watching on the live stream. And all bets that we cover today will be up on insights.matchbook.com post-recording. So let's get into it. The first race on ITV slate is the 150 at Haydock. It's the Betfair Graduation Chase. Just the four runners here. The favourite is Brave Man's Game at 1.57 currently. We're recording on Thursday afternoon. Itchy Feet is 5.0. Pay the Piper is 5.5. And Al Nadam is 15.0. Sam, we might go to you first on this one. I think there's kind of like everyone's kind of agreeing on this in terms of maybe not necessarily a betting race, but how excited are you to watch Brave Man's Game running again on Saturday?
Yeah, very. I think he's potentially the nicest chaser that the Nichols team, certainly novice chaser that the Nichols team have this year. They've got one or two strong candidates, but he seems to be topping the pecking order at the moment at Ditchy. Made a really blistering start to his chasing career at Newton Abbot as well. Very impressed with the way that he attacked his fences. Very proficient, very efficient. Showed good pace around that tight track as well to win what was a modest enough race of its type run at that time of year, but still a really spectacular round of jumping. And he really couldn't have achieved any more really on his debut over fences. This will be a stark different contrasting race here. Bigger fences, more galloping track, but that should bring out the best of him really, because he looks the type of horse that's going to want 3 miles in time. So conditions look absolutely ideal for him. At the current prices, well odds on, he wouldn't be a bet for me. Yet to prove his proficiency around the track and the fences. So it'd be a watching brief for me. And I have just got in my mind that performance of Itchy Feet has just taken a bit of an enhancement recently, with obviously the third winning, as Adele would well know. So that looks fairly strong form, early season form from Aintree in the Old Rowan. So there are one or two little issues, regarding taking such a short price about Brave Man's Game, not least Pay the Piper running well as well last time. So, it's a competitive little heat, but it'd be a really informative one. So just be one I'll sit out really and watch on the sidelines.
Yeah, for you, Donn, I always kind of wonder, looking at these races, what sort of price for you is Brave Man's Game? Does he become a bet? And then what sort of price when he becomes too sure? Are you kind of maybe potentially looking at other runners in the market?
Yeah, it's a good question, Daniel. I agree with a lot of what Sam said. Like he deserves to be favourite. He deserves to be a short price favourite. But he's a novice taking on more experienced horses. It's a graduation chase, so it's not restricted to novices. And look, you couldn't have faulted what he did the last time. He was so good in winning, and then Fusil Raffles came out and won the Charlie Hall Chase next time, albeit helped by Shan Blue's departure. And he was a top-class hurdler last season, and novice hurdler. He finished third, and behind Bob Ollinger at Cheltenham, he won the Shallow. So there's an awful lot to like about him, and I suppose more so, or at least as much as his talent over hurdles, was the way that he jumped the last time at Newton Abbot. So look, he's the one they have to beat, but I think Itchy Feet might be like Sam. I won't be having a bet in the race, but I thought Itchy Feet was interesting against him because he was a high class novice hurdler as well, and his jumping last season was just a wee bit, just left a little bit to be desired. But the last day at Aintree in the Old Rowan Chase, he stayed on really well, and as Sam was saying, Adele's horse, Fancy Midnight Shadow, who finished third, beaten about a length behind him that day. He went and was good and tough, and probably won the Paddy Power Gold Cup with a fair bit more in hand than the bare winning margin. They're talking about the King George for him now. So, and Itchy Feet had him behind him in the old round. So you have to respect Itchy Feet. If he, and his jumping at Ascot wasn't great last year, but Ascot's a tricky track, and we'll come on to that and talking about the Ascot races, that the fences can come at you quite quickly and they're quite stiff. So if Itchy Feet can jump a wee bit better, he could give Brave Man's Game a bit of a race. And with novices having their second run over fences, you just don't know that Brave Man's Game is going to jump as well as he did the last time in Newton. But he probably will. But when you're looking at a 2-to-1 on shot, you're entitled to look for reasons why he might not win. And look, it's a really interesting race. But I think Itchy Feet sets a good standard for Brave Man's Game.
Try saying that after a few points.
No chance.
Adele, for you, you're kind of in a similar to line anyway, more so with Sam in terms of Brave Man's Game, but just too short a price for a bet at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he was very impressive at Newton Abbot, and as Sam said, he handled that track really well, and it's a lot more of a galloping track at Haydock, and the fences are nice and fair, so he'll handle that well. He's too short for me. Obviously, his form with Fusel Raffles going on and winning the Charlie Hall, albeit he won it kind of really by default, but he still would have been pleased to have even finished second to Chamblou, which is, I think good form in itself. He's just too short, and then I always look with races like this. I always look for something else, but I do think if he puts up the same performance as Newton Abbot, I think he wins, and that's it.
Yeah, so as I said, broad agreement with Brave Man's Game, but probably too short, with Donn potentially thinking that Itchy Feet could be the danger there. So we'll move on to the Chanelle Pharma Chase, the 205 at Ascot, and take a look at the betting here. So Daniel Hussey is the favourite at 3.25 currently. Defi de Soil is 4.33. Lost in Translation is 4.50. Master Tommy Tucker is 6. Benny's King is 7.5. And Pistol Whipped is 15. There's a couple of Master Tommy Tucker fans. I'll go to you and stick with you, Adele. You like him in this race?
Yeah, I mean, Dashel. This is the one I struggle with. Never mind Brave Man's Game.
Well, I was practicing it beforehand. So.
He was very progressive last season. He's not one fresh though. That would be my only worry. I think Jeremy's horses always look like they need the runs. That would be a worry for me. So I thought with Master Tommy Tucker having had a run already under his belt, albeit it was over hurdles and it was over 3 miles, which I think probably would have stretched his stamina a bit as well. So I think with race fitness on side, he might be able to beat Dashel Drasher this time. I know he was second to him last season, but just purely on the fact that I think that Jeremy's horses need, I think they need the run usually.
And Sam, you're in agreement here as well with Adele.
Yeah, I mean, Master Tommy Tucker is not a bet for the faint-hearted, is he? Let's be honest. But he does have a very good record right-handed in small fields, and he's only been beaten once when he stood up in 8 starts right-handed, and that was by Dashel Drasher a couple of lengths here back in February. But I think, as Adele's alluded to, that Dashel Drasher hasn't got the greatest record first time out, although he has got a brilliant record at Ascot. So I wouldn't think that Jeremy Scott has left tons to work with, but this is a starting point for him. He also, very sadly, hasn't got Matt Griffiths riding him as well, which is another aspect of his chance, really, which needs to be considered. Horse and jockey got on particularly well. So there are a couple of mitigating factors for perhaps his chance here. And the beauty of Master Tommy Tucker, he's had a spin round Weatherby. That should have hopefully taken the fizz out of him a little bit. Sam Twiston-Davis is 2 from 3 on him, rode a beautiful race on him when he won at Haydock. Really quiet throughout, barely moved a muscle on him, just let him fiddle his way over his fences around Haydock. He's jumped round Ascot okay. He wasn't too bad, actually, behind Dashel Drasher, and looked as though he was coming with a bit of a withering charge after the last until Dashel Drasher, who was probably dossing at the time, picked up again. So I think that form line is the one that I like the best. Defi de Soy's up in trip, first run back off a wind up. Few questions to answer. Same with Lost in Translation. So I'll stick with Master Tommy Tucker like Adele.
Yeah, I heard him called Master Tommy Headbutter earlier in the week, which I thought was a tad harsh on him. But it is an exciting race, Don. There's a lot of kind of unknowns with a lot of these horses, but you like Benny's King here.
Yeah, almost by default, Daniel. Like Dashel Drasher, agree with what the lads have said about him. And look, he's a talented horse. Defi de Soy and Lost in Translation, if they come back to anything like their best, then they'd be the ones that they're getting weight from Dashel Drasher, which doesn't make sense really, given how highly rated they were and and have the potential to be up to that level again. Like Lost in Translation was rated in the 170s. Look, he's been disappointing last season, but he's had a wind operation. The Cullen Tizard horses were not in great form last season, so you can make an argument for Lost in Translation, and he was really strong in the market during the week. He was pretty well backed, so he's interesting in his first run back after a wind operation. And David Desoy, it's his first run back after a wind operation as well. He was obviously a hugely talented horse. He's gone again, had a little bit of a season to forget last season, but again, Philip Hobbs, he didn't have a great season last season, so you can make cases for those two bouncing back to form. But I just thought at about 10.0 or thereabouts, Benny's King, we're back to Ascot form. I do like horses who've shown that they can handle the chase track at Ascot, because it is a track that, more so than most horses just can operate at, and if they don't handle the fences, then it's obviously a major negative. And like he was well beaten on his debut run last time in the London Gold Cup behind Larry, but he's never at his best on his seasonal debut. He's been well beaten on his seasonal debuts for the last 2 seasons, and then went and won on the second run back for the last 2 seasons. And the second run back last season was at the Ascot meeting just before Christmas, the Long Walk Hurdle meeting, and he was impressive in winning that day. So I just think with that run under his belt, back at Ascot on ground that he handles, and over a trip that's probably his optimum trip, the 2 mile 5 trip is probably his optimum distance. He was over 3 miles last time. But no, I think like he's got plenty to find on ratings. There's got at least a little bit to find on ratings, but he did run National Drescher close in handicap chase at Ascot back in January last year, and he was actually giving him £2 that day, and he receives weight from National Drescher distance. So I just thought the disparity in the price between Benny's King and National Drescher was greater than it should be, and notwithstanding the fact that if Definitely Sawyer lost in translation, they ran their races, and the case for Master Tommy Tucker, like it's a fascinating race, but I think Benny's King just might be the value in it.
Yeah, I agree with that, because Masters Tommy Tucker's the selection from Adele and Sam. Don's gone for Benny's King, but like you said, there's Lost in Translation, Defi Desoy. It really is like a fascinating race, which will hopefully answer a few questions on those horses. So we'll move on to the 225 in Haydock, which is a Stayers Handicap Hurdle Grade 3, and we'll have a look at the prizes here in the betting. Currently, Riggs is 6.5 favourite, along with Right Place, Right Time. Orby's Legend is 7.5. Best Rock is 10, Stony Mountain is 11, Flight Deck is 11, If the Cat Fits is 13, and then it's 15's Bar. Adele, we'll go to you on this one. You like a couple here at each way prices?
Yeah, I mean, I like quite a few of them, but just for different reasons, and I wasn't quite sure whether that was the race for them. I mean, I think every winner in this race has been a big price winner over the past 10 years. So I've picked a few out. Brinkley is one I like. I think he's got a nice profile for the race. I'm just not quite sure if the ground's going to be softened for him, because his wins kind of came on heavy ground. I suppose his main defeat was in the Temps final. So I think if he can follow on from last season, I can't see why he won't be able to run a decent race. It's just purely on the ground for me. So I wouldn't be going too wild on him. He's kind of more like a small win and a small place bet. Like I said, I think he's got a really nice profile, this horse. I'm glad Sam's mentioned another one, so I'll let him mention that if he's picked it. Dan's Levent, who I quite like as well. But Flight Deck, who won at Weatherby's opening meeting, had first time cheap pieces on. He's still quite a likely race 7-year-old, so I think he's still got a little bit more to give. He's definitely got a few little issues. I can see why he's got the headgear on, because he kind of didn't look like didn't stop at the last hurdle, but it kind of definitely looked like he wouldn't want to hit the front too soon. He had a little roll around, so I think if he's ridden a little bit more patiently, I think that he's still got a little bit more to give as well. So I've kind of gone for two who I think have got nice profiles for this season, as long as they can kind of back up what they've showed already. So Brinkley and Flight Deck at big prices, small win and places for both of them.
Yeah, to you, Sam, then on Brinkley that Adele mentioned.
Yeah, just with the pipe team, really, they really target this race. They've got 2 runners with Martin Hall, who's probably one of the pace angles, along with Winnings Everything, and also Brinkley. And I'll take on board what Adele says about the ground. It might not be ideal. I can't believe it's going to be that quick at Haydock. I mean, it's Haydock, isn't it? And it's middle of November. I know we haven't had the rainfall, but I still think there'll be plenty of juice in the ground. He'll be ridden quite aggressively as well, Brinkley. I think he'll sit probably in the second draft of runners. And I just like 1 or 2 of his runs last year. I don't think he lost a lot in defeat trying to be ridden aggressively in something like the Per Temps, which is a race really, which is very difficult to try and race prominently and win. So I wouldn't castigate him for that. And I just like the fact that, the pipe horse pipe horses have won the pipe team have won this with horses such as Main Fact, Dynast, Gevry Chambertin. So it's clearly a race that they target a fair bit. So he would be one that I would like a little bit winning place. And I can't allow Donn to go unbacked either. I thought he ran a really nice race in the World's Champion Hurdle at Foss last. Wasn't put in the race, stayed up nicely to finish second. He's back up to 3 miles now, but he ran as if this was a trip that he really did want to go back to. I think he's run here. He's run once over, or a couple of times over 3 miles. I think he ran once at Aintree in a really hot race with Roxana and one or two other quality horses, and was only beaten 15, 20 lengths. But I think this is going to be his trip this year. He stayed on quite nicely over 2.5, 2.5 in a Coral Cup and 2.5 in some competitive handicaps. And I just think at the prices, he's worth betting. He goes really well for the rider. It looks like he's had nice preparation. The only problem is if this is a race that's off the front and the speed holds up, he's going to be ridden with exaggerated waiting tactics as he was at Foss last. And he might get going a bit too late. But I'll take a chance at the prices.
Yeah, as I said, we're currently around 17, but could be bigger on the day in the exchange. For you, Donn, you like Stony Mountain winning place currently around the 11.0 mark.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting horse. I think his run the last day at Newbury was a really good run, bouncing back to form. Right place, right time. He's an interesting horse as well. At Emmett Mullins, he was with Kevin O'Donnell. He won his maiden hurdle for Kevin O'Donnell. And his 3 runs for Emmett Mullins this season have all been over fences. So interesting, he's back over hurdles now. And he has a really good run behind the Bosses Oscar at Thurles last year. It was a pretty high-profile race. There was a lengthy steer's inquiry into it, and then he felt the result could have been reversed. But even though it wasn't, it was still a really good run by him. And his 3 chases this season for Emmett Mullins he's progressed with each one. And then last time, his first 2 were over kind of 2.25, 2 miles, 3 furlongs. Last time he stepped up to 3 miles and he made all, and he stayed on really well over fences. He's got a hurdles rating of 108 in Ireland. So he's up 125 now in Britain. I think it's because in Britain you can take the chase rating and use the same rating for hurdles. But interesting that Emmett Mullins is still happy to allow him to take his chance, go over to Britain, and look, he'll stay. He's progressive, and we know how good and how astute a judge Emmett Mullins is. But yeah, Stony Mountain, he's been pretty well found in the market, right place, right time. Again, he was another one for money during the week. But Stony Mountain, I just think, again, we're back course form. He won this. When he won this race, he stayed on really strongly. He actually made a pretty bad mistake at the 3rd last flight that day, and looked like he wasn't going to get there. But it was a turn of foot or stamina that he showed from the final flight to get up and beat AC Man and Tatum. That was really impressive. He was off a mark of 138 that day. He raced off that mark last time after he tried fences. He unseated at Cheltenham and then just seemed to lose his way a bit, and he moved from Henry Daly to Jamie Snowden. But then last time on his debut this season, he was very, very good, I thought, in winning at Newbury. He had to leave the yard 2 back in second, and he reopposes tomorrow on Saturday on slightly better terms. But I just thought Stony Mountain had plenty in hand, and it never really looked like the Levy 2 was going to get to him. And back at Haydock, he got £4 for that, so up to 142. But I think that should be within range. And if he can improve a wee bit now that he's rediscovered his form from his run the last day of seasonal debut, his first run since May, back at Haydock on this ground, I agree with Sam. It's not going to be, you never imagine quick ground at Haydock in November, but kind of good to soft ground. That should be ideal for him. It was that type of ground when he won this race last time. So yeah, I think around about 11.0 or thereabouts. It's a good each way race as well. So yeah, winning place.
Yeah, 11.0 currently at the moment. So we'll move on to the 240 at Ascot, and we've just had the Stayers Handicap hurdle, but this is a horse I quite like for the Stayers hurdle, although potentially running over an inadequate distance here. Buzz is currently priced at about 2.0. We got Goshen. What a thrill that'll be now to watch Goshen in action on Saturday. 5.0. Molly Ollie Wishes is 6.0. Song for Someone is 7.50, and Guard Your Dreams is 10.0. Just the 5 runners here. Donn, we'll stick with you here on this one. You quite like one at a price here, the fourth favourite at the moment, but you quite like the price.
Yeah, Song for Someone. Look, I can see where you're coming from on Buzz. He could be, he could easily be a Stayers hurdle horse this season. He won the Cesaro. It's kind of like Echoes and Rain last weekend in the Morgana hurdle. She was second favourite for the champion hurdle because of the potential that she has to improve to be that good. So therefore, going into the Morgiana hurdle, she had to be a short price for that in front of Sharjah, who was a much bigger price for the champion hurdle. But it kind of, you can, for me anyway, Daniel, I can see the case for Buzz for the stairs hurdle, but at 5-4 for Saturday's race, I just think that's a bit short. Look, he's won a Cesarovic off a mark in the mid-90s, and he's got Ascot form as well. So there's an awful lot to like about Buzz. But I just think.
And Donn, are we all guilty of just looking at the potential too much instead of looking at the form? Look, the Sharjah example, like last week.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Like, well, look, it's very, very easy in hindsight.
I know.
It's a certainty. But like, you have to factor in potential. It's the degree to which it's factored in. Like, that's a prime example exactly last season. Like Eccles and Rain, even with her Mirza Lounge, she had 14 pounds to find with Sharjah on official ratings. Now, she has all that potential, and she still has, but it was an awful lot. Look, she wasn't advantaged by the way the race was run. Zana here set a moderate pace, and she was too keen in behind us, as she's a free going sort. But I wouldn't give up on her yet anyway. As a by the way, I think with a faster pace, with better, more runners with that experience under her belt, and then as she gains in experience, she still could be a champion hurdle type of horse. But yeah, like, her potential in hindsight was factored in too much into her odds against. I think they ended up joint favourites, or maybe Sharjah shaded favouritism in the end, because the kind of the market corrected itself a wee bit. But look, you can see Buzz progressing this season to be definitely a stairs hurdle type of horse. But I think first time out, Song for Someone, he's very good, fresh. He's got good Ascot form, and the fact that his runs last season, like he even at Cheltenham when he won the international, and he stayed on really well that day to beat Silver Streak. Silver Streak was probably a wee bit unlucky; he didn't get a run. They omitted the final hurdle that day, and Silver Streak got into a little bit of traffic. But at the same time, Song for Someone kept on really well. And yeah, I think the angle with him, Daniel, is first time out back at Ascot, and he's had a wind operation as well. So he was pulled up at Aintree last time, but again, that was not at Ascot. It was his last run of the season. He's got 22 lengths to find on Goshen on the running in the elite hurdle at Wincanton last time. But I just think first time out fresh, that's the time to get him.
Yeah, so Sam, we'll go to you then. And sorry for that little bit of Cheltenham anti-post sideshow, but on that theme, you quite like Buzz here, but you also gone for Song for Someone as well. So can you kind of talk us through your thinking with this race and what you're
doing? I think it's at the revised prices. I mean, obviously Buzz has been a fairly short price for this all week, and he's always likely to be, isn't he? Off the back of a Says win, he's got good form around Ascot. I think his connections have talked him up for the Stayers hurdle, and one or two judges have put him up as well, which I can fully understand that. So he was obviously going to be put in a very short price here. But in Song for Someone, as you say, you've got a horse that's won off 2 breaks in excess of 220 odd days. So he clearly goes very well fresh. He's run twice at Ascot. He just got worn down by Thomas Darby in a very good handicap hurdle. Then he won this race first time off the shaft last year. I think he's going to get a decent gallop to run at here with Molly Ollie's Wishes. You see, that's the one that I need to put my teeth in with. And Goshen in the field. So hopefully they'll go a pretty genuine gallop here. That'll suit Buzz, obviously, but it'll suit Song for Someone as well. And I think Tom Simmons has been a bit unfortunate in the last month or so. He's run a number of nice horses. He's had the odd winner here and there, but he's also seen a lot of horses run really well and finish second. Hopefully this lad can buck the trend. And I just think whatever you're doing with this race, I think he's worth having something on. I can understand. The probably way I'd go, really, if you fancy Buzz here, I'd be looking to take an anti-post price for him, perhaps for the Stayers hurdle at double figures. There's probably 15.0, 17.0 around, rather than necessarily betting him at even money on Saturday afternoon. I can't let Song for Someone going back to at 8.0. I think that's a daft price for a horse that I think, clearly goes very well fresh, handles a track, the ground will be no issue. And his hurdling is usually such an asset for him as well. So, Buzz has still got to confirm that he's going to be a crack hurdler. Whereas I think Song for Someone, I would like to see him go up in trip this year. I never really quite envisaged why he was campaigned over 2 miles, to be honest. I think because he won that Cheltenham trial, that sort of, he was then pigeonholed as a 2 miler, but I'd like to see him go over 3, as he's getting older. Hopefully he can make his impact and make a mark at that sort of level over a trip this year.
Yeah, Adele, finally for you. I'm not going to lie, the lads are slowly winning me around for Song for Someone.
I know.
You're going to have to try and... yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to have to try and convince us why Molly Ollie's Wishes there. I got that all right. It has a good chance here.
I love mares like her. Like you kind of know what you're getting with her. She's tough. She's quite versatile. We've seen she won a listed race last season on heavy ground, and then she won the mares listed race at Wetherby over 2 miles on good to soft, so a bit quicker than what she probably would have been used to. But she handles anything, and she's so tough. She might get herself out on the front end, and I just think you know what you're getting with her. And she's obviously got the mare's allowance. She's got a bit to find with a few of them on ratings, but she's clearly a trier. She's versatile. She jumps well, so I think she'll handle Ascot. So I'm going to stick with her. I think she's very tough, and I think these mares, when they're in good form, it's time to be on them. And she's clearly thrived over the summer, and as we've already seen, she's returned in good form, because I know when I spoke to Dan before Wetherby, he thought it was maybe a little bit too on the sharp side for her, but she handled that well enough. So I think Ascot, I think she'll be even better there.
Just a point on that as well. I don't think it should be underestimated how good a trainer Dan Skelton is of these mares as well. I mean, she's developing as the new Roxana, isn't she? And they've already got a number of really nice novice mares coming through as well. So I think he does an exceptional job with them. Sorry to butt in.
No, they're not easy to train mares. They're hard to keep. They have to keep at top level, that for so long. And as I said, she's definitely got the kind of attitude to go with it, which is what I like about her. When I seen her in the paddock at Wetherby, she looked $1 million. So she looked really well for a summer on her back, and she looks a lot stronger as well this year.
She'll be a great race.
If she's going to be heading on to the big time after this, she needs to be putting her best foot forward and kind of showing her best in that race, I think, on Saturday.
Currently 6.0 at the price there, and should be a great race on Saturday. Before we move on to the main race of the day, we're just going to have a quick little break here to tell you about our current sign-up offer at Matchbook Exchange. If you're looking for more value on the exchange as opposed to a normal bookmakers, it's a £15 welcome offer, which is money back as cash if your first bet loses. So that's money back as cash if your first bet loses, up to £15. All you have to do is enter the bonus code INSIGHTSRF. That's INSIGHTSRF, and full terms and conditions are on our matchbook.com website. So if you want to maybe take one of the best bets later on here for your £15, it's money back as a free bet, or as cash, sorry. So we'll move on to the main race of the day and on Saturday. And to be honest with you guys, I can't wait for this race. My best bet actually comes in this. So I said I'd tip one horse, but I'm going to save it to the end. The clue is one of you guys will be talking about it shortly, but I'll go to you, Sam, on this one. You like a couple here. The Betfair Chase, I think I always lose on it because I always try and find that horse that's going to beat Bristol de Mai. But you're it sounds like you're siding with just backing the tried and trusted methods. I think 4 out of 5 wins here.
Well, yeah, I mean, just his record at Haydock is just obscene, isn't it, really, under any conditions as well. So I don't think the ground is going to be a massive problem for him. Goes very well fresh. Really, it's more of an angle taking on a Plutard, really, than necessarily fancying Bristol de Mai strongly, although, he's a difficult horse not to be compelled with, certainly at his home venue. Just the fact that, a Plutard runs really well fresh, don't get me wrong, but he's finished second 3 times, on his return to action. That's after 194, 237 and 241 days. So the fact that he's only been beaten half lengths and neck suggests that, he is going to be straight enough to do himself justice. And I fully understand the decision to come over. But a little bit like Manila Indo, you sometimes have to look a little bit beyond the normal. And it's a long season. It's going to be building throughout the season. You want horses really here that have had this as their primary objective. Now, Henry de Bromhead might have had this race as his primary objective all summer, but we know full well that Nigel Twiston-Davies has. And we know full well that Paul Nicholls has, because he was talking about this race literally a week after the 4-miler at Cheltenham. So both Next Destination and Bristol de Mai make some interest and make some appeal here. Certainly for me, Bristol de Mai, because he sort of picks himself in some respects. And Next Destination, because he's quite a fragile horse, he has to be cherry right first time. He's been away. He's done a good gallop with some quality horses from Ditchy. They're really pleased with that. And I just think he's a spot of value. So rather than perhaps laying a Plutard at 2.5, I'm just going to take a chance at backing Bristol de Mai 4.5 or a little bit bigger if I can, and perhaps Next Destination at 7.0 and Dutch the two of them, and just really enjoy the race, because I think it's a fantastic renewal. Probably the best chase, well, definitely the best chase run in the UK since the Gold Cup. And is going to be one of the races and spectacles of the season. So can't wait for it.
Yeah, Don, I was so excited about this race that I forgot to mention the prices here. So I'll just run through them there before I come to you. Plutard is 2.5 currently. Bristol de Mai is 4.33. Waiting Patiently 7.5. Next Destination 8.5. Royal Beguile 8.5. Imperial Aura 9 and 34 Bar. For you now, something that Sam said there that I kind of not only agree with, but it's kind of we've seen in fruition that it's great to have horses targeted at this race, which is why Bristol de Mai, like, this is his Gold Cup essentially. But despite all that, at the 2.5, you really like a Plutard here.
Yeah, look, I won't be backing him, Daniel, but look, I was trying to get myself into the Bristol de Mai. I nearly succeeded. Look, you can't knock Bristol de Mai. He loves Haydock, and I kind of thought up until 2 years ago that he needed heavy ground at Haydock, but actually he just needs Haydock, as he proved when he won this race on good soft ground before. So look, he's an unbelievable horse, especially at Haydock, and it is one of those tracks, especially on soft ground. If you handle soft ground at Haydock, it's a big asset going back there. On better ground, I think his superiority or the potency of the Haydock factor is reduced a little bit, at least a little bit, because the ground is not going to be bottomless. So, and he's 10 years old now. Look, you can't knock him, and it wouldn't be at all surprising to see him win. And Sam's case for him being value at 4.33 or thereabouts, it's solid. And if he goes and wins it, you'll kick yourself for not backing him. But I just think Plutard he's a better horse, and I take Sam's point that this is not his Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is his Gold Cup. And Henry Bromhead's horses, they are improving for a run, but he has had this race mapped out for Plutard from a fair. Like, he's not going to go there half cocked or 3/4 cocked. He has to, if he's traveling. He's gone over to Haydock, and look, we know it's been well documented now. He does have to go left-handed, or his form suggests he's a better horse left-handed. While he doesn't show any physical inclination to go to his left, his form on right-handed tracks is way below his form on left-handed tracks. So therefore, this has been the plan. It's great that he's going over. So it really gives the race a massive element that would have been lacking without Plutard. So it's great that he's going, and yeah, like, his first runs of the season, he's been beaten, but mostly that's been over 2 miles, and he did win the Close Brothers Chase after a long break. His Gold Cup run last season was after a break since Christmas, so I wouldn't be worried about him going wild fresh. I'd be more concerned about him building into the season and how close he's going to be to 100%, because I think if he's close to 100%, he's the best horse. He should win. And there's no reason why he won't handle Haydock. Good soft ground should be pretty much ideal for him. Like, bottomless ground would have been a bit of a concern. So I just think he's got all the guns. And 6-4, I think it's about right, Daniel. I think that's about the right price for him. I think he's the most likely winner of the race. And I'll be letting him run at 6-4, but he's the horse that I think will win it.
Yeah, Adele, question for you. Is this Waiting Patiently's new Gold Cup? Like, is this the target here? Because obviously a stable change recently. We've never really seen the best of this horse, just because he hasn't really got to track as much as we'd probably like to see.
That's the thing. I don't think we have quite seen the best of him. I mean, you're going to have to go back to 2018 for his last win. That was the Betfair Ascot Chase. But obviously, it would be his first start for Christian, and I can't wait. He goes really well fresh. This is the thing with Waiting Patiently. His best, well, we've seen when he was second in the King George to Froden last year. Travel really well, maybe a little bit too well. He's had issues, obviously, in the past. He's been injured a few times, so he's been unlucky. This horse, he has been really, really unlucky. Going to Christian Williams, he'll be a bit of an eye opener for him, I suppose, because where he was trained before at Ruth Jefferson, he will have had like a bit of a set routine, whereas at Christian he trains them very much where they don't do the same thing. The next day it's always something different. If anyone sees any of his social media, he's fantastic. He puts on videos of them going through rivers and streams and like around them sand dunes and on the beach, and it'll be perfect for him. I honestly think if the time to get Waiting Patiently will be on his first run, and I think at the prices I'll have a little bit of that. It's a fantastic race. To be honest with you, I'm not bothered if I back a loser. I'm looking forward to watching it, but I can't wait to see Waiting Patiently, and I think the time to get on him is fresh. So I think will have done him the world of good, albeit I didn't want him to leave Ruth. I think she's done fab with him, and it's always sad when you see them leave a yard like that, but I think he'll thrive at Christians. I really do. So I think it's time to get on him Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully it's one of those races that there's 5. They're all still in the mix as they train for home.
So,
but
yeah.
But because it's in Haydock, it's just gonna be one of those finishes where Bristol de Mai has a 1-3 out and he just has to jump the 3 fences. Like it's always the way, like in those races. But we'll move on to the 3:15 at Ascot here. Good betting heat here. We got before midnight at 3.25. Sky Pirate is 4.50. Amula Gold is 5.5. Shout out to Steve Jones there. Best bet a couple of weeks ago. Monsieur Lecoq is 6.5. Diego de Charmel is 10.0. Sully Dock is 10.0. And Dalas is 13.0. We'll go to you, Sam, for this one. Who do you like in this race?
Yeah, Moolah Gold's got the cheap pieces on, hasn't he? And probably a good move as well by the Skeltons to do that. As Steve would say, when hard held the last time by a head from Monsieur Lecoq, making up about 12 lengths after the last to land the best bet for Value Seeker. And a great selection it was too. Whether he's capable of doing that second time round or not, I don't know. I think this is quite a decent little heat. Obviously, before midnight, made all to win at Cheltenham. Monsieur Lecoq likes to be ridden quite aggressively, so at least Amula Gold will have some pace to run at. But I think Sky Pirate will as well, and I wouldn't mind betting that this lad might just sort of inch into one of the interesting contenders for something like a Queen Mother Champion Chase. I know it looks a rampantly good race this year with a number of really top quality horses lining up, but I think this lad won't be out of place in the field of something like that come March if he can just continue to progress again this year. He's only 8 years of age, pushing 9, got some very solid Cheltenham form. Not so good yet round Ascot, but both of his Ascot performances were over extended trips. I think dropping back to 2 miles, as everyone knows, was the key to him last year, and he wound up winning the Grand Daniel, irrespective of having a ton of races. You normally need a fresh horse to win that race, but he managed to overcome that. So I think with the pace to run out here, I'm going to give him one chance round Ascot before he heads back to Cheltenham. Connections are obviously keen to try and win a handicap with him, and if he does win a handicap off, pushing 160, then I think he's entitled to have something like the Queen Mother Champion Chase and be about a 16-1 chance for that come March. But it'd be fascinating to see how he gets on here. Yeah,
what are your thoughts on this one, Don?
Yeah, look, agree with Sam. It's a really interesting race. Like before midnight, he's very progressive. He was so impressive in winning at Cheltenham last time when he made all the running, and he had Sky Pirate behind him. He's a short price. He's got £8 for that. The third and fourth horses from that race have both been beaten since. He's never run at Ascot before. I think there are enough unknowns in there to enable us to take him on. Sky Pirate, I agree. If he does go and win this off 159, he's going to be on the coattails of Champion Chase type class. But I wonder, he's a better horse at Cheltenham, or seems to be a better horse at Cheltenham. Agree with Sam, since he dropped down to 2 miles. But Cheltenham seems to bring out the best in him. It'll be interesting to see how he goes at Ascot. And Monsieur Lecoq, I think he could be the value of the race, Daniel. He's anyone who backed Monsieur Lecoq the last day experienced the reverse emotion to what the Amuna Gold backers, all Steve's followers, experienced, because I thought he did everything right through that race. He had edited his heats at a good fast pace. He made his ground down the side of the track, and actually he made quite a bad mistake at the first of the 4 fences down the side of the track. Just when he was starting to make ground on the outside, he made a really bad mistake. It just knocked his momentum. So I thought it was impressive that he was able to get back into the race, make his ground down the side, and he got up and took Editor Dujit's measure. There's another one, Editor Dujit, on the run to the last fence.
Thank God we're not race commentators.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason for that. And he went on and won his race, and then Amula Gold just came with his run. So he got £3 for that. Amula Gold got £4, which, I mean, of course, he won by Amula Gold, beat him by a head. So that makes sense. But I just thought Monsieur Lecoq was the best horse in the race on the day, the way the race was run. I thought £3 was fine. He's up to 135. He was rated 150 at his peak over hurdles, or 151. So I still think he's got potential in his chase mark of 135. He's only run 6 times over fences. He's only 7 years old. So I think there's plenty to like about him. And then back at Ascot as well, where he ran that good race last time, and he had one decent run before that, albeit in a 3-horse race. So I think there's more to come from him. I think he can go beyond his mark of 135, and I thought he would have been a fair bit shorter than he is now. Yeah, I think 7.0. I think that's good.
Yeah, it's good. Could potentially good value there. Adele, for you like the favourite here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it wouldn't surprise me if either of the top 4 on the betting won it, but I just think, as Don's already said, he's a very progressive horse before midnight. He skipped round Cheltenham. He's a nice, enthusiastic horse. He jumps well, which will suit him at Ascot because you need to be a good jumper. Then fences come quite thick and fast at you, and it can suit horses on the front end there if you can find yourself in a nice rhythm and you can save energy jumping the fences if you kind of have free wheel in front. So he's gone up £8. But I suppose if they're talking about the festival for him, then he wants to be kind of stamping his authority, doesn't he, in these kind of races. So he's progressing well, and I think his performance at Cheltenham suggests that he has still got a bit more in the tank. So I'm going to stick with him. I don't think he's too badly priced for me because I'm not usually one for backing them at such short prices. But based on what I've seen, I think I'll have him on side.
Very good, very good. Diego de Charmel also in the field. Of course, got Fred Winter winner, got me out of trouble, won Cheltenham anyway that year. I think it was 5 or 6.0 on the exchange when he won there. We're going to move on to the final ITV race here, and we're going to go to you, Donn, at 3:35 Haydock. Once I just go through the prices currently. Strictly a Dancer is 2.50, Rams the Teddy is 5.0, Empire Steel 6.0, Fiddux is 9.0, Potter's Corner 9.0, Mr. Muldoon 10.0, and then Joke Dancer at 17.0. Donn, for you at the prices, who do you like here?
Yeah, I found this tough. Like Strictly a Dancer, he got £7 for winning at Cheltenham last time, and that was like he was very impressive in winning it. But he is up in grade here. That was an amateur rider's handicap chase. I think it was a not 140. This is a not 145. But he's taken on better horses like Rams de Tay, who maybe 3 miles on good to soft ground, or 3 miles 1.5 furlongs good to soft ground may not be a sufficient test for Rams de Tay. I was thinking, he's kind of heavy ground, 3.5 miles suits him well. And look, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Strictly Dancer progressing from his Cheltenham run and going and winning again. But I just thought Fiddux the last time, I thought he ran a bit better in that Chepstow race than his finishing position suggests. It was a race that it was difficult to come from behind. I thought Kitty's Light did well to finish second to Chirico Vallis, who made all the running. And Fiddux was in behind, and he made good ground around the home turn. And then his run just kind of flattened out, and he just got left behind. He seemed to tire. He ran like a horse who would come on for the run. It was his first run back after a short break. So, look, he's not absolutely an unexposed horse, but I just thought that he could be marked up at least a little bit on the bare form of his Chepstow run the last time. The handicapper dropped him by £2. He obviously didn't agree. But I just thought that he at around 10.0 or thereabouts, he might represent a wee bit of value. But small stakes. It's a race that I think there are plenty of unknowns in it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Adele, for you, Rams de Tele, always been a favourite of mine. Just love watching him jump. You kind of like him here though at the prices.
I do. I thought it was a bit of a tricky race, really, to be honest. I nearly even sat it out because, as Donn said, there's a few unknowns. But just purely on the fact that he's already had a run that was over hurdles, so he should be a lot fitter for that. If he can repeat last season on his second run, he ended up winning at their Cheltenham November meeting, a grade 3 when he beat Yalarenki. So, look, if he can do the same as what he did last season, then that was off a mark of 149. He's on 147. As I said, he's already got a run under his belt. Fergus takes off a valuable £3 because he's carrying 12.2. So, look, it's just one I've picked that I thought, at the prices, I'll probably stay on side with him.
Mm. And then for you, Sam, I guess there is broad agreement on this race, but in the sense that it's a nominal selection, so we'll probably sit it out. But if you were to have a bet, you were kind of siding with one here, Empire Steel.
Yeah, I'll take a chance with Empire Steel, really. Just looking at his profile, he's won a 210-day break, a 281-day break, and an 81-day break. So I don't think freshness, I don't think fitness will be a problem, really, for Sandy Thompson's horse here. Sandy's got a good chance earlier on the card, and Bass Rock as well, who was an impressive winner at Carlisle, so he's got a good chance in the Stayers race, and I think he's got a fair chance here. I mean, this horse was only 12-1 to beat Chantry House at Aintree, and yet he's 6-1 to beat a number of horses here, or 7.0 to beat a number of horses here, who I'm not saying they're has-beens, but some of them never has been. They're just not really progressing, whereas he is a young, upwardly mobile horse, stays well. He'd probably want the ground a little bit softer, but I think one or two of them do here. So I'm happy to take a chance with him. The stables horses continue to be in quite nice nick at the moment, and at 7.0, he's got less convictions on his card than one or two of these, so I'll take him.
Yeah, and obviously the race including former Welsh national winner Potter's Corner as well. But like you said, a lot of these horses aren't progressing. So we'll move on to best bets. We did have an any other bet section, Adele. We struggled to find races. You were looking everywhere, all sort of cards.
I even looked at Wolverhampton, and I even asked Paul he was riding to see if he could give me anything. But tough weekend, really tough. And when Paul didn't come up with anything, I thought, right, we'll leave Wolverhampton alone. I even looked at Lingfield. I struggled there as well. So my best bet's going to be Molly Ollie's Wishes. I'm going to stick with her. I think you know what you're getting with her. She's strong. She's a nice, strong mare, and she knows how to win. So hopefully she will do again on Saturday.
Donn?
Yeah, good day at Navan on Sunday. We don't have declarations for it. It's Troytown Chase Day and the Monksfield Hurdle as well. So there should be good pointers there. And unusually for a Troytown, the ground looks like the ground is going to be not bottomless. But yeah, I think Monsieur Lecoq, I think he's the best bet at the prices for all the reasons outlined earlier. Back at Ascot, I thought a £3 hike was fair. He still could be a well-handicapped horse over fences on 135. And I thought he did all but win the last day. And he's only had 6 runs over fences, so potential for more from him.
That's the 3:15 at Ascot. For you, Sam, you're going outside the races we've covered today.
Yeah, I'm hoping 12:40 at Haydock. The future is bright. I'm hoping it is for us as well. Obviously, one of 2 Christian Williams runners in that Cheltenham race. He won it with strictly a dancer last time. This lad started off his season behind Braveman's Game at Newton Abbot. Obviously, couldn't land a blow there because he's rated 111. But it was his Haydock run back in the spring on decent ground behind Innisfree Lad, which, at least he's got experience of the track. He stays well, sneaks in here off 10-2. Jack Tudor claiming 3. Just thinking how Christian works, and he does like to get his horses in at the base of a handicap in these staying chases. So a bit of winning place at sort of around 5.5 or bigger for me.
Brilliant. And then complete the lucky multiple here, lucky 15. Next destination for me in the Betfair Chase. I really like that form behind Galvin in the 4 miler, and I do think like Sam touched on, it's been targeted. So hopefully it's his Gold Cup as well as everyone else's Gold Cup in that race at Plutarch aside. So but yeah, listen guys, thanks a mil for joining the podcast. Adele, Donn, Sam, thanks a mil for joining us.
Thanks, Daniel.
Cheers, Daniel.
For those, if you missed any of the bets or want a full recap, insights.matchbook.com should be open a couple hours post recording. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are listening, we really appreciate a preferential review. Other than that, enjoy the race on Saturday, cracking racing card, and we'll be back next week. Tom Sandy will be back next week. But for now, goodbye.